Guys, so this week so far once again, here's a Warhammer video. Looking at the War of the Webway. Just like every Warhammer video, I got no idea whatever happens. I feel like that's a pretty recurring trend at this point. I feel like there's be some kind of twist, some kind of turn, some kind of backstab of some sort of fashion. If that's just the Warhammer way at this point. Um, but I'm definitely excited for it though, because Major Kill's a phenomenal content creator, and just like every content creator that we ever react to on this channel, they do a phenomenal job taking all the information and making it an easy to understand video, not just for myself, but for everyone else that's trying to get into the Warhammer community, and even for veterans as well too, because I know you guys enjoy these kind of videos as well. So if you guys want to check out his original video, which I highly encourage, it'll be in the description. Show him some love. If you guys enjoy my content, if you guys enjoy my reactions, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get to it.
The Custodian Guard are universally recognized as the greatest fighting force in the
Badass
galaxy,
shit.
especially now that all GW writers seem to be on the same page about what a Custodian actually is. One single Custodian can turn the tide of an entire war, massacre elite space marines like they're children, and it really wouldn't take that many of them to kill.
What's the number like of amount of guardsmen to like Space Marine? Isn't it like a couple thousand or like 10,000 or something or whatever? That might be too high, maybe. I'm gonna like say like oh, I'm a low ball this. I'm gonna say like 5,000 guardsmen, 2,000. I don't know. I don't know, but I can't remember the exact number. Maybe I might be completely off. But guardsmen to Space Marines, that kind of could give you a rough guess about how crazy these guys really are. But you guys probably let me know in the comments. But I remember way back, I heard that number before.
Kill a Primarch. They win so hard and often that anytime the Imperium is informed that a sizable Custodian force is en route to a war zone, they will automatically declare it a victory for the Imperium before the Custodies have even entered the fray. That might sound like propaganda, but since the Custodies always win, it's actually just efficient. So it might surprise you to know that the first time the Custodian Guard fought as an entire unified army, supported by Titans and huge amounts of Mechanicum forces, they got absolutely destroyed, with 90% of them dying for absolutely no gain. The war in the Webway was the Custodian Guard's darkest hour,
Damn.
the greatest waste of life and power, all because Magnus did something very, very wrong. Before we get started, I've had a shitload of messages and emails regarding the latest merch.
Damn, dude.
The drop was a is below Endymion fighting in the Webway.
That's crazy. Lost that much, dude.
Free on my Patreon.
It was a hell of a battle, bro. By the way, I'm sorry about that cut there, guys. Might have come on audio a little bit there too. YouTube changed their thing now where you can't use ad blockers anymore. So if you see any weird cuts anymore, that's why. I'm gonna try to get around it, but right now I'm kind of stuck. So if you see any weird cuts or my audio gets cut out or anything like that, that's why. So my apologies for that. Let's continue.
I'll need to provide some context here since the Emperor's Webway project was a bit confusing. While I did make a full video about it specifically, I don't expect everyone to have seen it, with the war in the Webway as well as the Webway project itself being separate things, although obviously very connected. Basically, the Emperor had been searching for a way to permanently kick chaos in the balls. He knew that the galaxy was on a cycle of peace, darkness, destruction, silence, and then peace again, and so on. A lot of this was Chaos's fault, with humanity now being Chaos's fuel. Hence, if he could access the Elder Webway and convert sections of it for human use, he could remove mankind's reliance on the warp and warp travel, meaning there would be a greater separation between real space and the warp, whilst the Emperor could also place humanity's rapidly growing
whatever humanity would be, bro, if the
Webway
Emperor never got disabled, man.
Where they could be trained safely. There's more to it than that, but basically it was a genuine chance to defeat chaos. The Emperor saw it as so fucking important that he literally left the Great Crusade and allowed half of his son's resentment to fester until it resulted in the Horus Heresy, outright rebellion. The Emperor genuinely saw the Horus Heresy as a side quest compared to the main importance of the Webway. So when Magnus breached the Webway in order to warn the Emperor about Horus's betrayal, it was pretty fucking terrible. A gaping hole into the warp had opened, with demons literally being able to cross over and manifest within the Webway without issue.
Shit.
To combat this, the Emperor deployed almost the entire might of the Adeptus Custodes, Sisters of Silence, and a massive army of Mechanicum forces to try to defeat the chaotic hordes, push them back to the breach, and then close the breach, saving the Webway. It was a massive long shot, especially since the Emperor refused to allow any Space Marines to enter the Webway to help defend it. So it was basically around 10,000 Custodian Guard, a couple thousand Sisters of Silence, and a few dozen thousand Scutari and other Mechanicum assets against the literal endless horde of demons,
Holy shit.
literally millions, that would later get backed up by thousands of Traitor Astartes as well as Traitor Titans. A pretty tall order even for the Custodian Guard. Here's how the war went. Initially, it went pretty well. The chaotic forces were more of a rabble than a full-on invasion army, as they were just happy to be there. The full might of the Custodes, Sisters, and Mechanicum met them head-on, smashing through tides of demons. The Emperor also sat on the Golden Throne and directed almost his entire focus and energy on stabilizing the Webway project, preventing it from crumbling entirely or allowing the breach to get bigger. Basically, the system was that the Custodes and Sisters would push forward in lightning attacks on the demons, when the Mechanicum and Imperial workers behind them rebuilding the parts of the Webway, with the goal of slowly but surely pushing their way to the breach, stabilizing it along the way. At which point the Emperor would then sacrifice 1,000 Psykers to leave the throne for a few hours and close the breach himself, saving the project. It was genuinely working at first. Progress was being made, which answers the question that many people have of why didn't the Emperor just cop the L and seal the Webway gate, saving the lives of his Custodes, Sisters of Silence, and massive contingent of Mechanicum. And it's because his plan of retaking the Webway was actually working, and the Webway was everything, worth so much more than the Horus Heresy. His reason for continuing to fight for it even after the situation became hopeless would change, but we will get to that in a bit. As the war raged on, and boy did it rage, for 5 whole years, the issue became apparent. Even as meter by bloody meter of ground was gained, the demons had an endless supply of warriors, whilst the Imperials were very, very limited. With 5 years of fighting, the Custodes could only afford to lose 4 warriors per day max. A pretty fucking rough ratio, since in turn they would have to kill thousands of demons a
Only
day.
4?
This was okay initially, as it was just lesser demons running around, who were in the right place at the right time when the Webway was breached, but
still,
as Chaos turned its attention to the Webway, greater demons began materializing, followed up by thousands of traitor marines. Suddenly, Chaos had tactics, commanders, and genuine power. It also adapted to the Custodes' lightning attacks, ambushing 2 out of the 3 Custodi tribunes and killing them, leaving Ra Endymion as the sole commander of the Imperial forces. Then finally, the Imperials began getting pushed back. The meters they had claimed with the priceless blood of the 10,000 were lost very quickly. The leader of the Mechanicum forces was also killed, and a new demon had entered the battle, Dracnian, the ender of empires, and a demon with the power to kill the Emperor himself. Dracnian was able to massacre dozens of
That is fucking terrifying. So now I can see why they had a tough time. So the new boss just walked down the battlefield, the guy who has the power to kill their emperor. Okay, we just took a step up. Okay. Holy shit.
Custodes in single engagements.
Holy
The
shit.
Imperial forces withdrew to their strongpoint, an abandoned Eldar city called the Impossible City. You may be wondering, at this point with over half the Custodes dead and all progress wiped away, why did the Emperor not just recall his forces? Well, the Big E is a big fan of contingencies, one of which was on his way to him via the Webway, Vulcan, who possessed the knowledge to create the ultimate fucking
such a cool
chaos
picture,
device,
dude.
the Talisman of 7 Hammers. This device would be linked to the Golden Throne, and if the throne was to fail, aka the Emperor was to die, then the device would trigger, creating a fuck-off huge death vortex warp explosion that would completely wipe out Terra and local space, meaning that a true Chaos victory would become impossible, as all traitor legions and their Primarchs present at the siege would instantly die. Hence, the Emperor began
everyone
holding
loses.
the Webway not in hopes of saving his project, but giving Vulcan enough time to reach him. To aid in the defense of the Impossible City, a custodian named Diocletian, who was known for having a pretty good sense of humor, traveled around Terra finding reinforcements, whilst Ra held onto the city for as long as he could. Diocletian was able to find and recruit an imprisoned Imperial Knight House who were suspected of treason but were actually loyal, as well as petitioning the Fabricator General to make him another Mechanicum army, as well as the equivalent of a Mechanicum Primarch, called the Archimandrite. He also brought along
Dude, that's so
and a
cool
Blood
looking,
Angel,
dude.
who would be surprisingly useful.
Dude, Warhammer and their design of their characters will never cease to amaze me. They are so well done. And they're so unique. They look amazing. I mean, it is just so well done. It's beautiful.
In the war to come. As Diocletian returned with his reinforcements, the Impossible City was breached. Ra fought like a fucking demon, killing each and every enemy within 3 strikes, regardless if they were demonic or traitor legionnaire. In truth, he could actually kill them in 1. However, by allowing the fight to go to 3 strikes, he would be able to absorb everything he needed to know about their fighting style and strength, taking that knowledge into future battles.
Dude, this guy's OP.
What? Gave the Custodes enough breathing
He can
room for
learn
Ra to finally
while
issue the
fighting?
order to retreat with the consent of the
Just
Emperor.
like that.
You gotta remember that the Emperor fucking loves his Custodes. He said he would literally sacrifice 1 million human lives to save a single custodian. So for him to watch them die in droves in a near pointless war was really hard. Thus he was almost relieved when he could finally allow them to retreat. The retreat itself was an act of sheer heroism. Imperial Titans taking out 2 or 3 traitor Titans before they themselves went down, single custodians holding the line, allowing their brothers to escape. At this point, Ra and his custodians had been fighting non-stop, no food or water or sleep for days now. One of the custodians had literally half his head torn off, losing a big chunk of his brain in the process, but kept fighting and was even amongst the living custodians who began retreating. However, this is where the retreat went wrong. See, the Mechanicum was extremely desperate to get back to Mars and retake it from the traitors. There was a Webway gate near the Impossible City that led to Mars, hence instead of helping with the retreat, the Archimandrite directed her army to push towards the gate. This ended in disaster as those Mechanicum forces were ambushed and slaughtered by demons, with one force even accidentally going through the wrong gate that led directly to the warp, killing them all instantly. As the Archimandrite realized her mistake, Draknian reached her and possessed her, becoming a souped-up mega mecha demon. Whoopsies. The Emperor was fucking fuming. However, the Sisters of Silence finally returned with 1,000 Psycho prisoners in tow. They hooked them up to the Golden Throne, which allowed the Emperor to stand up, as he instantly began sprinting into the Webway to save his custodies. Ra and his final survivors prepared to make their final stand. They were close to the Webway gate that leads back to Terra, but they weren't close enough. Custodies, Sisters of Silence, Knights, they stood ready as the demons charged. They hold the line until Draknian arrives. A Knight charges Draknian and is crushed. Sagittarius, the legendary first Custodian Dreadnought, is also severely damaged. However, the crippled Blood Angel goes Sigma mode and jetpacks onto the Archimandrite, dropping a bunch of grenades and blowing it up. However, that was just its shell. The true demon comes forth and there is nothing Ra and his men can do to stop it. They are all going to die. But then, in a sunless realm, the sun rises. The Emperor arrives, his mere radiance banishing thousands of demons as their very essence explodes from the mere act of gazing upon him. The Emperor summons a tidal wave of holy fire, before then summoning the blazing spirit of Ferrus Manus and the betrayed dead of Isfan to charge forward. Demons are slaughtered in the thousands every second as the Big E charges Draknian. To Ra's horror, Draknian impales the Big E and lifts him up. However, this was just as planned. The Big E grabs Draknian and in turn turns him into a sword that he then stabs into Ra. The Emperor has one final task for his chosen custodian, run Ra. And Ra ran. He ran to get this demon as far away from the Emperor as possible. For every day Ra ran would be a day that his liege lord would live. To help him on his way, the Emperor fired a final Kamehameha of fire that killed the rest of the demon army and allowed Ra free passage to run deeper into the Webway. With this final act, the Emperor withdraws the remaining forces back to Terra. His servants stare at the Webway gate and are shouting to him to ask if they can close it. The Emperor looks at it for a long moment, hoping against hope that Vulcan would appear. Then, he orders it to be shut down. Not only did his gambit to reclaim the Webway fail, but he was also unable to hold it long enough for Vulcan to arrive. The sad part is that Vulcan was mere minutes away, with the Primarch of the Salamanders literally watching the Imperial forces withdraw and the Webway gate shut. When Diocletian asked the Emperor what they must do next, the Emperor says the most chilling thing he could: I don't know. Thus the war in the Webway ended, 90% of the Custodies dead, most of the Sisters dead, dozens of loyal Titans destroyed, and the Emperor basically removed from the heresy as he now had to sit upon the Golden Throne to keep the Webway gate sealed, so demons couldn't overrun Terra. However, as a ratio, millions of demons were banished, thousands of traitor Astartes were massacred, and many traitor Titans also fell. Draknian was also stopped. The craziest part about this war is that no one actually really knew about it. None of the loyalists were clued in as they were fighting the traitors in real space. Fortunately, Vulcan would find another way to reach the Emperor and the Talisman of Seven Hammers would be built, but overall, just a massive L. 10,000 Custodies could have made a massive difference during the heresy, especially during the Siege of Terra. If anything though, this just makes me love Custodies more. If you
Just like always, he didn't disappoint. That video was amazing. I have huge respect for the Custodies, especially the Emperor too, man. That was amazing. That was awesome. Think about 1,000 a second. That was super cool, man. I hope I learn more about those guys, man. They are super badass. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I did. Again, original video being script in the description. Holy shit. Make sure you guys check it out. If you guys enjoy my content, if you guys enjoy my reactions, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next one. Take it easy.